You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today we are doing a quick little show looking at Week 9 in the NBA. Michael Bolton, he wants to hear all about it.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it indeed. Interesting week in the NBA, as all of them are players returning from injury, players going down with injuries. But this is a good week in terms of game load.
Giggity!
I almost did the giggity sound drop just myself, but here we go. For the week, 7 games on Monday, perfect. 6 games on Tuesday, also perfect. 9 games Wednesday, well, you can't ask for a better high-volume day than a 9-gamer because you can still stream on that day. 4 on Thursday, 10 on Friday, 9 on Saturday, and 5 on Sunday. So realistically, you can probably stream every day outside of Friday. There are some spots you're not going to be able to do Wednesday and you're not going to be able to do Saturday. But Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, definite stream days with the potential for Wednesday and the potential for Saturday. So that means taking care of your ads, taking care of your acquisitions this week is mightily important. I'm going with the default idea that you have 4 max acquisitions a week. If your league has more than that or is unlimited, I highly suggest you change that heading into next season. In fact, next season, I reckon I might do a show doing ideal league settings. I'm sure people would enjoy something like that, but you should have a limit on your acquisitions, and 4 seems to be a good number. You could go really hardcore and do 2, and that would really change things up quite a bit, but I think you need a little bit more flexibility than that during the week. So we do have a lot of streaming options for this week ahead. Now, if we look at the way that the quality games shake out, actually, we'll look at the overall games played first. There's one team this week that plays only the 2 games, and that is the Golden State Warriors. They have 2 games. There is nobody on that Warriors team who I think you should lock into a weekly lineup in a standard 12-team format. Now, in a 14-teamer, someone like D'Angelo Russell probably slides in. Draymond Green, maybe 14, probably more 16-team league sort of a guy. But in a 12, there's no one there you want. So the added value of someone like Marquise Chris, who's been playing well lately, the blocks of Willie Cauley-Stein, the triangle Eric Pascal, little dog Glenn Robinson, like these blokes, Alec Burks, who's playing well. With only 2 games on, and those 2 games coming on a 9-game Wednesday and a 10-game Friday, it's pretty rough to go and add those Warriors players. The bulk of the league plays 3 games this week. The team's playing 4. You've got the Blazers, the Raptors, the Pistons, the Thunder, the Clippers, the Suns, Hornets, Grizzlies, Wizards, Mavs, and Bucks. They play 4 games this week. There are 3 teams who have 3 quality games. And if you don't know what I mean by a quality game, of course, what it is, it's a game where there is an ability to stream players in on one of those days. So if you play a quality game, it means you play on a low volume day. I use 8 games as my cutoff, but that varies depending on what your setup is. If you've got a larger bench, then your quality game limit should be considered lower because, again, it's just being able to find guys into that active spot. Now, the Clippers, the Bucks, they have 3 games for this coming week, quality games, as do the LA Lakers. In fact, the Lakers play 3 games only, but all of them come on the low volume days. Now, they are not the ideal stream team, but you can add a guy like a Rondo if you're looking for assists, a McGee if you're looking for blocks, a Danny Green if you're looking for threes, a KCP, but they're not ideal type targets. The Clippers are a more interesting team because we're looking at guys like Mo Harkless you could add, Ivica Zubats for those big man minutes as well, if you're looking to stream players in there. Guys like Patrick Beverley, who might not be rostered in every league, it's a great opportunity for him. And then on the Bucks, you got, maybe it's the big Ragu, Dante DiVincenzo you're looking at. Maybe it's Ersan Ilyasova if Yanni happens to miss more time. Where's Matthews? Yeah, probably not. George Hill becomes a really strong streamer, especially with Bledsoe dealing with this shin contusion that is going to keep him out of Saturday's game. So a little bit of value in those guys there as well. And I stress this here, talking about it quite a bit, is that knowing the difference between certain 4-game weeks and other 4-game weeks, because we can look at the Blazers who have 4 games and their matchups are great. They have the Suns, they have the Warriors, they've got the Magic and the Timberwolves. Yeah, 3 really positive matchups for them. but only one of them is on a low volume day. So while you might look to say, well, that's great for me having my Bazemore this week, you might use him once. And he's been really underwhelming starting in place of Rodney Hood. So is holding on to him worthwhile when you could go to Phoenix, or you could go to Charlotte, or you could go to Toronto and have a look? Norm Powell's got 2 quality games this week out of his 4. So his 2 games, are they going to be better than Bazemore's 1 quality game? Even though both teams play 4 games this week? That's really the decision you need to make. It is not about total games. Now, in a weekly changes league, it's all about total games, because you're not looking at streaming guys in. You're not looking at, hey, will they be on my bench or my active lineup this day? Do I have to make sit-start decisions? Because you make that decision at the start of the week, and total value tends to trump those individual matchups, as we're all well aware of. So let's have a look. How are we trying to maximize our additions for this week? Well, we're looking at Monday, Tuesday as a good stream option, the 7 and 6 game combination there. So who has the back-to-back there? The Phoenix Suns. Now, the problem that has arisen from a Phoenix point of view is that Devin Booker's dealing with this wrist issue, but that does open up that opportunity. McCall Bridges, he is going to have increased run. Cameron Johnson, Tyler Johnson, Ali Okobo for deeper leagues. I think we're going to have Bridges start in place of Booker. I'm recording this before Saturday's games start off, but I think there's some value there. In that back-to-back, Booker has had been bothered by this wrist injury for a little bit, it seems, and now it's become too much. So there is a risk that he misses the beginning of this week. And with that back-to-back Monday, Tuesday, there is some real value there on a Bridges, on a Johnson, Yeah, you double-barrel Johnson with some value there in Phoenix as well. They are the only team with that back-to-back to start the week, so they have that value to begin. Now, there is Wednesday, Thursday we could look at. There are teams that have that back-to-back. There's Charlotte that's got that combination as well. But that's, and the Magic also have that combination, but that is dependent on whether you can actually get a player active on that Wednesday with the 9 games on. Not everyone's going to be able to do that. If you can't do that, you're looking at the Clippers, who play Tuesday, Thursday combined. You're looking at the Nets, who played Tuesday, Thursday. You're looking at the Jazz, who played Tuesday, Thursday, as do the Atlanta Hawks and the Lakers. So a few options there to add those players on a Tuesday. Sit them on the Tuesday. They play on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, you've most likely got a full roster. You might not. And then you can add them again for action on that Thursday. Now, the next one we want to look at, again, the Friday, Saturday, there's quite a few back-to-backs, but with 10 games and 9 games on, you may not actually get use out of those players on those days. Now, there is a possibility of doing that, all dependent on your roster. And I think having a look at a Thursday, Sunday pseudo back-to-back is probably a little bit too long. But what I will go through here is who has the back-to-back to end the week. Because 9 games on a Saturday and then a real good streaming day on a Sunday with 5 games, you might be able to add that bloke on before the Saturday games and get 2 for the price of 1. Add 2 guys there and get 2 games for the price of 1 out of those players as well. So we're looking at back-to-backs for the Thunder across the weekend. The Hornets have the back-to-back over the weekend. The Milwaukee Bucks have a back-to-back over the weekend as well. So some pretty good value in those teams there. The Hornets, your guys like Cody Zeller, Bismack Biyombo, PJ Washington's going to be out till Christmas, so someone's going to have to step up at power forward. Does that mean that we see Miles Bridges shift up because Marvin Williams is also injured? Does Michael Kidd-Gilchrist come into play as an option there for the Hornets? Their rotation over the next few days is going to be really interesting. Nick Batum's out, Marvin Williams is out, PJ Washington's out. These are all guys who'd be in that mix to play some of those power forward minutes. So there's going to be a lot happening for Bridges. You might see a lot more happening for Kidd-Gilchrist. Cody Martin's going to come into the mix. Maybe they push the Baconator, Dwayne Bacon, in there for some extra minutes as well. So there's a lot of interesting decisions that have to be made in Charlotte about who is going to fill those roles. So that's how we want to attack this week. Now, in terms of start sits for weekly lineups, I mentioned those Warriors guys. They're pretty tough to lock into a roster. If we look down at the end of the teams playing 3 games this week, now because it is a week where the bulk of teams play 3 games, you're not at a huge disadvantage if these guys play 3 games. Sometimes if you have 15 teams playing 4 games and then 12 playing 3 games, the 3-game ones, you have more sit-start decisions. But with the majority of the league playing 3 games this week, a 3-game is an average week. So there's no real, hey, I probably shouldn't start this guy. But a couple of guys who you might not consider as players that, or players you might consider as must-start blokes that maybe aren't this week. Miles Turner, only the 3 games there. Aaron Gordon, only the 3 games there. Are they players that perhaps you don't start for this week? I think that's a possibility. Vanderpants Kevin Herter, I wouldn't want to start him with only 3 games this week. Kendrick Nunn, really hard to know what's going to happen with Dragic and Winslow, but if they play Nunn's 3 games, I'm not sure that's going to be worthwhile. Dunk Robinson, the Spur, Tyler Hero, those sort of guys. Is there going to be enough value in them? Danny House and Ben McLemore. House has been struggling, McLemore's been playing well, but are they good enough to lock into a 3-game week this week? I think that's pretty tough to get behind. Julius Randle for the Knicks, maybe his 3 games. Now, I probably would start him. His projections don't come out particularly well, especially with the game against Miami and the Bucks coming up. But maybe he's a guy that you'd consider. DeJounte Murray, is he a guy you lock into a lineup for this week? There are lots of questions. In terms of guys who might be ads, who you could lock into a weekly lineup, given their schedule, Nerlens Noel. We know that he plays 20 minutes a night, 4 games, 80 minutes. He could very easily get you 8 blocks, 8 steals, maybe 9 steals during that time. Maybe 9 steals is a bit much, but maybe he gets you 6 and 6. But that's valuable. The 2 Powells, Norman Powell, Dwight Powell. 4 games for each guy. We know Norm Powell's been getting extra run with Van Vliet out. He's going to help you scoring. Dwight Powell, get that field goal percentage, get some boards, get some steal numbers. They're really low-end type guys, but with the extra bulk of those games, 4 games versus 3 games, it's a 33% increase. And that will push them into that weekly lineup type of scenario. I talked about Cody Zeller already for a streaming situation, but 4 games, him and Bismack Biyombo, low-end value if you're looking for that type of center. Jay Crowder, 4 games for the Grizzlies. D'Anthony Melton, he's another option you could look at for the Grizzlies. Dylan Brooksy Brooks, another guy with Memphis with these 4 games on that could really work out pretty well. Now, their matchup's not great against the Heat and get the Thunder in there, but they do finish the week with the Cavs and the Kings. But there are some Grizzlies options we can look at. Cam Johnson, McCall Bridges for Phoenix, as well as other players that we can consider for this upcoming week. That will do it for me for my Week 9 preview. I'll be back tomorrow with a waiver wire show and to look at all of Sunday's games and then go through previewing Monday's action. Go follow me on Twitter at redrock_bball. And please, if you're on YouTube, go and hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Tell me how good my yellow shirt looks. Whatever it is you want to go and do, go and leave that comment. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.